The meeting of the WSCSD on February 11 will come to order. This meeting is a hybrid meeting, which means that some or all of the public body is meeting remotely and some are meeting physically in a previously noticed location, where the public may attend to observe, listen, and participate contemporaneously. Please note that while we will strive to provide means for those attending remotely to participate in the public comment period, there may be technical difficulties or reasons that otherwise prevent or interrupt remote public participation. Therefore, it is important to note that the open meeting law only ensures the public's right to participate and comment at a public meeting by attending at the designated physical location as posted in the meeting and as posted in the notice and the agenda. If there are technical problems for individuals online, please reach out to someone in the space, sending an email, a text message, and we will do our best to reconnect you. Nevertheless, the meeting will continue as scheduled. A couple of opening moments before we actually get into the meat of this. We have several dates that I just want everybody to keep in mind. One is tomorrow night, the summit. It's the three boards coming together in Cusick. We will come together at 5 p.m. for dinner, and the meeting officially begins at 6 p.m., and that's when it will be recorded. The next date of note is February 24, Monday at 6 p.m. There will be a special board meeting in the auditorium of Brattleboro Union High School. And at this point, all of our local legislators have been invited, and it is going to be a gathering of board, admin, district personnel, as well as community members to further explore the governor's proposed proposal for the reorganization of our educational system in the state. And so that is an important date to keep in mind, and we will advertise that shortly. But please save the date, February 24, Monday at 6 p.m. The next date, it's BCTV, it's the Candidates Forum, everybody who's running for re-election, on February 27, Thursday, 6 p.m. We're asked to be there an hour early, and no guests invited. There's no room, apparently. Maybe I don't need to attend.
May I have a question?
Sorry, yes.
And so is that live stream?
Yes, I do believe it is live stream. I think so. I have a notice somewhere here. Yeah. That's what I recall. The Candidates Forum, notice, I can't read it. It's I'm sure it's live stream. Okay. Any changes to the agenda as written? Matt Shipley.
Madam Chair, I'd like to remove the minutes from Tuesday, January 28th from the consent agenda. I need to make an amendment to that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anything else? All right, and that's, it is live streamed. Thanks. Any other issues having to do with the agenda? Okay, so Matt Shibley is responding to the issue about the consent agenda. If anything warrants discussion, it needs to be pulled before we get to the consent agenda. Otherwise, we can have a motion that handles the entire consent agenda. Minutes will be removed. If I forget, please remind me. Okay, we are going to begin with student matters. If there are issues that students would like to raise at this point, this is your time to do that. I also want to say that at any point, as we do board discussion, and you have a question, an issue, please raise your hand and you will be called on. Yes, would you stand and identify yourself by name and by town of residence?
Hello, my name is Isan Damarsico, and I'm a Brattleboro resident and a 10th grader at UHS here. Thank you. On behalf of the Student Advisory Committee at the school, which is a student group, we are concerned that students and parents aren't informed about the policies in place to protect students' privacy in our district regarding immigration status and transgender students. We would like to know what steps the district is going to be taking in terms of protecting students while following the law. We want to continue to see support from the district for all students moving forward. From the student body, we have seen that students and teachers are scared or unsure how they will be affected by these executive orders. Teachers want to know how to respond when students have new questions about new federal regulations. We want to see more outreach from our administration and from our school board as a whole on details and general reassurance so people in the community know what's going on. I'll circle back around to this, but could the school board regularly send out information for students, parents, and staff to keep our community up to date on new information and give people a sense of security? Other school districts have been giving information in their communities regarding this. In a Mount Mansfield Union District statement, the superintendent informed their community that all students are welcome. We want our students to feel welcome and respected with pronouns and gender identity, as well as immigration status. In terms of immigration status, students and parents should know the strict guidelines of ICE in the event a warrant is brought into the building, and what kind of warrant allows ICE agents into the school. We would like to know what plan will be in place for students in these meetings and what kind of documentation will occur. Furthermore, we'd like to know students' rights and what questions they have to answer and what they don't. Our students should be informed on the changing policies and up-to-date information regarding these potential changes in our district. Thank you. And coming back to the question, could the school board regularly send out information for students, parents, and staff to keep our community up to date on new information and give people a sense of security?
Thank you very much. Thank you. There are issues that you raised in your statement that are actually on the agenda. And so I'm looking at the superintendent. Perhaps we should delay comment, or would you like to comment at this point?
Well, I can comment. Isan very well said. Thank you. I did bring tonight guidance that we have developed for our staffs to be prepared in the event that an ICE agent were to show up at the school and provide support and guidance on how to respond. So we will review that in depth a little later in the meeting. But your other comments around a statement of support for students and families, the intention is to send something out to the community before the break. So that I am planning to do that this week before Friday.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Ethan. Okay, well stated. I see Liba Eager's hand up. Liba?
Hello, everyone. I'm Liba, representative of the board, as a student. I had two things to say. I wanted to thank Tim Maciel for sharing out an email which talked about the two different types of warrants that could be seen, which was something I didn't really know before. I wonder if it's going to be talked about further in the board. But I wanted to give my brief thank you on that because I did not know that there were two different types of warrants: a judicial warrant and an administrative warrant. And under any circumstance, an administrative warrant is said that you don't have to consent to it. So if an ICE agent has an administrative warrant, you can decline to that. But if there's a judicial warrant, that would definitely mean that you will have to comply with that. This is what I got from the email, and that was a very helpful email. I think that got to a lot of students, and I also forwarded that email to Rhonda Weingartner. I think that's her last name, and she forwarded that email to Ms. Jen Corse, who works with lots of ISL students, which I think would be helpful for them. The second thing I wanted to say, which happened, I think a month ago. So I was working on the issue of food waste around, and the Food Works at the Brattleboro, the Works Cafe downtown had there was some food wastage going on with the bagels, and Miss Hannah Parker and I talked to the boss of the Works Cafe, and they agreed to just donate us fresh bagels every day, and so that the students at BOHS could have food, which resulted in less food wastage for Works and some bagel fun for students, which was a good thing. I think it happened once. We haven't really circled back to it since Trump administration happened. It was a little sad, but that was a successful highlight that I achieved with Miss Hannah Parker. So I wanted to thank her, and just wanted to share it with the board. So those are the two things I wanted to talk about, and I would love to hear more from the board about what they have to say and how they're going to cope up with this ICE situation. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Otto. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I did bring hard copies that I can pass around to board members.
So should we wait until?
Just so you have it.
Okay,
It's a
great. So, thank you.
topic, but
Yeah.
Nancy Weiss just is making copies for everybody in the room.
Okay, thank you.
Give them mine. I have an electronic copy. I have e-copies.
Okay, any other students at this point? All right, thank you very, very much. We are going to move on to public comment on non-agenda items. Brief statement. This is a time for the board to listen and to take notes. It is not a time for the board to respond to comments or to engage in dialogue with the public. If appropriate, the board and administration will work on next steps. So this is time for public comment on non-agenda items. Okay, I don't see any hands up right now. Give it another minute. Okay, I don't see any hands up, and I don't see any hands up in the room right now. All right, we are moving on to the first agenda item, and which is a discussion of proposed restructuring of Vermont's educational system. And it is the governor's proposal with dates such as 2026, 27 in terms of restructuring, beginning the process. And the restructuring, I don't know, I hope everyone is aware of the potential changes. And I know that school boards across the state are engaging in these kinds of discussions in their board meetings. I was on a board forum with board chairs this past Friday, and it's an open agenda. We talk about what we need to talk about, we share. This was the topic of conversation, the only one. So I open it up for discussion. Sean?
Yeah, Sean Murphy. I've been following this, reading about it, and a little surprised when it first was put forth. But I think what it indicates, and the way I would prefer to, personally would prefer to approach it, is that, the education in the state of Vermont definitely has some issues. Declining student enrollment, very, very small schools. So there needs to be a solution to these problems. But I'm not advocating for what is being put forward. I'm just saying that I think if the administrative and the legislature and school board members all worked in collaboration with one another, rather than getting into a fight, it may be a better result. Just my personal opinion.
Yes, and hopefully there's no indication from me that this is a battle. This is collaborative. That's the only way it's going to work across the state. And that was the take as well from the board chairs on that Friday call, with an ask for a pause on moving forward, to really just have a moment for everyone to absorb these changes. All right, I see Dan MacArthur's hand up. Dan, would you identify yourself and your town, please?
Yes, I'm Dan MacArthur, but I'm also the Windham Region, one of the two Windham Region representatives to the Vermont School Boards Association. And since I see that that's really what your agenda item is, I just wanted to say that if your school board comes up with any specific feedback or input that you would like to have to the VSBA, our monthly meeting is tomorrow. Just let me know, and I will be the conduit of your feedback to the VSBA. So thank you, and thank you for acknowledging me, Deborah.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Jody Normando.
Jody Normando from Dummerston. I'm not exactly sure between this topic and the next topic what's happening, but I would like to comment. I have been involved for over 10 years with most of the people who are on this Rural Alliance. And I would just like to say that everybody in this alliance that I know, have one thing in common: the best for Vermont children, educationally, emotionally, health-wise, etc. These members come from the Northeast Kingdom down to our area, all over the state. They are very educated, very involved, very interesting people. They have doctorate degrees, they are lawyers, they are superintendents, other administrators, principals, parents, grandparents. They come from all walks of life. Let me see what I wrote down here. I'm scribbling, excuse me, as well as community members, and other family members. Community members are very, very interested in this, especially from our small rural schools. And what we have here in WSESD, SAU, are not what I consider a small school. But looking at what they're proposing, some of our schools may be considered through the state as a small school. So I think that the community, the school board, the select board, they all need to get involved in this. One of the things, they're working hard to keep Vermont from being anywhere USA, and to keep our schools from becoming pure factory schools. Our schools now are family community schools. You mentioned making a pause. One of the things that has not happened, and having been involved, and I know many of people, I'm looking at some, have been involved in the Act 46 thing, which was a horror show. They didn't respect your individual democratic votes. They overruled them. They told us we could make alternative plans and then said, no, you cannot, you're going to do this. And now they have never, ever, which is one of the things they were supposed to do, they've never, ever looked at whether this succeeded in what they wanted it to do. There were five things set up in the Act 46, and I haven't heard in the last several years anything about how those 5 things were handled and came out. So I'm in agreement with Sean that we do have to do something. I am in disagreement with Sean when he said fight, because I think we're going to have to fight to keep our schools. And I, for one, if I can keep up the energy, will still be fighting and still be participating in this. And I know that we have a fantastic guest coming on tonight. And Cheryl is a wonderful, wonderful person. And she is one that helped us through Act 46 and you know, from her town in Westminster. And I can't wait to hear her talk. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady and really into education. And unfortunately, we don't get to see a lot of these people who are really into, I don't want to call it alternative education, but into what really, really works. And that's what the state needs to look at. What is really working and what needs help. I'm tired of this top down from the legislature that they know better than we do in our towns. So I'm anxious to listen to Cheryl tonight, and I hope that we can all learn something. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. I do see a board member's hand up, but with respect, can I invite our guest to speak and just introduce?
Is it about the rural?
Yes, it is.
Can I?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm sorry. Ruby McAdoo. Yes,
so,
thank you.
Just to that agenda item having to do with the restructuring, I think that what I wanted to say specifically to that is that I'm really thankful that we're inviting the legislators. I think that it is going to be really critically important that our board create space or invite, you know, in a more intimate, you know, like maybe like we did with Emily, 1 or 2 legislators back in a cyclical way, you know, quarterly maybe, something, because things are changing constantly. And it's, you know, like every time I start to like, my blood pressure goes down about it, I listen to NPR and I'm like, oh my God, this thing is coming. And that's what's happening to all of us. Yes. And so I really do think it's not about bringing a fight. It's about really understanding what the playing field is, even if it's changing under our feet. And so I appreciate that that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to understand that. I think we need to stay diligent in that, and you know that. So that's all I wanted to say specifically about that.
Thank you. I do feel that this is the beginning of a conversation that will continue on February 24, and it will continue beyond that because it's an ongoing issue. I do want to introduce our guest, Cheryl Charles. who I see online. And because I think I want to co-join these two issues on the agenda, A and B. One, the discussion of the proposed restructuring, as well as a discussion of Rural School Community Alliance. And everyone should have received a copy of that via email. Cheryl Charles is chair of the Westminster Board, and she is also chair of Windham Northeast Supervisory Union. So Cheryl, if you could unmute and introduce yourself. I've asked Cheryl to help us understand the Rural School Community Alliance, which is presented as a petition. Cheryl.
All right. Well, thank you, Deborah. I'm happy to join all of you tonight. So thank you for the invitation. Your first topic was really to address the governor's proposal for transformation of education in Vermont, and this new Rural School Community Alliance has really been formed as a result of the January 22nd announcement from the governor of this new plan. Let me take a moment. Here I am on a screen. Can you hear me? Is everything okay with how this is working right now? You're okay?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, I'll back up to say just a little bit in the introduction, and thanks to Jody for those kind comments. I've been this is my 10th year on the school board in the Westminster area, and it is correct. We went through, as some of you would know, as a result of Act 46, a forced merger with Athens and Grafton, and then we're among the few towns that were able actually to get reinstated through a formal process. So the Westminster Town School District has been up and running again for the last several years. In the process of really being focused on what works in schools, what's good for kids, what's good for communities, those issues are front and center all the time. When the governor's announcement on January 22nd came forward to dissolve all school boards in the state, all local school boards, to transform 119 school districts into 5 large districts, that certainly caught my attention and that of a number of other people. A group of us from throughout the state had been looking at the deliberations of the new Commission on the Future of Public Education in Vermont, a group that has been formed by legislative action last year. That was already underway, and a number of us were watching these hearings and contributing, letters and statements about that. They had been working for a number of weeks, and then the governor's announcement came out. And so all of this, becomes a pretty pivotal time in the state of Vermont right now, where a lot of issues, are really among those for all of us to the extent possible to be involved with. So let me say very quickly that I am among those looking to see what can be supported in the governor's proposal. I'm not starting, nor are those others with whom I'm talking and working. We're not starting with being against everything at all. We're just trying to figure out what's literally best for the state and and the children within it and the families and communities. Part of the language and the concern that has led to this is the rising cost of education. And we know a major factor with that is the rising cost of healthcare and the insurance premiums that go with that. It's correct, as Sean Murphy said, that enrollments are declining. And so you look at rising costs to run schools, declining enrollment, and the rising property tax rates in many of the communities. So all of that coming together makes this a time where it really requires us to look critically at what would be best. So in the face of this dramatic proposal to dissolve all the local school boards, create 5 mega districts, and institute some other changes, some of the underlying questions are, will this actually really serve children, their families, and taxpayers? Will this actually be helpful? The current Secretary of Education often uses the language of our proposals being evidence-based. A number of us are absolutely support an evidence-based approach. What we're questioning in this case is whether a dramatic change to create 5 school districts, as an example in the proposal, would actually save money. I mean, if one of the recommendations, for example, in the governor's proposal is to have schools of an optimal size, elementary schools of 450 children and high schools of 600 children. Those are big, big numbers. The Commission on the Future of Public Education in Vermont, if you think about these being parallel conversations going on, at a certain point in their deliberations, they looked at the concept of closing any school of 125 students or less. Well, that affects a whole lot of us in a situation like that. And if we were to have children consolidated, let's say 450 kids in an elementary school, what buildings do we have right now that already exist that could hold that many? And what would the cost be to create them? And what would it cost to get children to them? Not even discussing for a minute the emotional costs of having children on buses for a long period of time. We know right now in Roxbury, it's about a 2-hour drive one way after their school was closed. So there are a lot of issues going on in the face of those and many that are related to it. A new alliance has been formed. It's the one that Deborah referred to, the Rural School Community Alliance here in Vermont. And so Westminster has already voted to become members of it. In the first couple of weeks since this new alliance was created, now more than 50 school districts and select boards and even school parent-teacher groups are either considering or have already voted to join. So I was asked to come tonight to extend that invitation to you, and am happy to do so. What might be the benefits? It gives us a way to listen and learn, to talk with one another, none of us has got this figured out. At least I certainly don't. None of us has this figured out on our own. There's great benefit in learning from people throughout the state who have a diversity of expertise to help us with this. So the task is to look at the governor's proposal to transform education in Vermont, to really assess the evidence, and where we can, to come up with accurate evidence and proposed policies that can improve education at a cost that taxpayers can afford, and without harming our children and their future, which is a real risk in some of the considerations involved in all of this. So those are just some opening comments, Deborah. I'm happy to respond to any questions. I can certainly go into more detail, but the basic issue here now is there's a proposal. The governor has proposed it. A number of us question the effectiveness of that, whether it will actually save money and what harms it will cause. We think there's value in communities coming together to try to figure out an alternative or to find those aspects of the governor's proposal that do make sense and support them. So it's a new alliance, and again, we invite you to be a part of it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. Thank you. Anne, you have your hand up.
I'd like to make a motion. I move that the Windham Southeast School District join the Rural School Community Alliance.
Seconded.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a second. It's open for discussion. I don't, did you have your hand up? Okay. I'm looking for board members who have not yet spoken. Okay, Sean Murphy.
Thank you, Deborah. I read over the proposal. It seems very straightforward to me. The one question I had was that at the bottom of the page, they said they were looking for $50,000 so that they could hire a legislative lobbyist. So I was curious about where that money, if you join it, whether you're, whether you should contribute to that 50,000 or how that would work.
We have the opportunity to contribute, but we are not, membership is free, and they are collecting donations from individuals, towns, school boards, but
So
we are not required to.
Financial liability.
There is no
for our
financial
district.
liability.
The fifth paragraph in bold says joining the alliance, and then it says is free and straightforward. Fifth paragraph down. So making a donation is at our discretion. Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Brian Reamer.
Yeah, thank you, Brian Reamer Guilford. I just have questions for us as a group. I'm not sure, like, because we have schools that are rural, but because we are a unified district, are we really part of that rural group? And I'm not sure that maybe I missed something and it was the previous speaker said, but I'm not sure what advantage there is for us to be joining. And I'd just like to have that better spelled out. I'd like to hear from our board members what they think the advantage would be, and just to make it a bit more clear for me.
Okay, so I heard two questions. One, are we rural? Do we fit into this scope? And two, what's the benefit of joining? Ann Beekman?
Yes, we are rural. Guilford in particular is rural. And the benefit is that our governor has repeatedly spoken for his support of an all-voucher statewide school district. This is an attempt to completely change how public schools are run, not just how much money we spend, but how they are run. And the idea that larger bureaucracies to run larger districts would save any money is ludicrous to me. I do not believe that people who never set foot in one of our local schools could possibly serve it as well as we do. And they've made no mention of representation on an alleged elected school board. How many people do you think we get in our very large district? This is an effort to allow larger population centers to close smaller schools without the consent of the smaller towns. I guess I have to ask you what Guilford would be like without Guilford School, because I know what Putney would be like without Putney Central. I want to protect the good that exists here, not just here, but throughout our state. Do there need to be changes made? Of course there do need to be changes made. We are overwhelmed. We need to grow a tax base, but probably there are other districts and or supervisory unions that do need to be consolidated because they will save money by having a single executive, a single businessman. But I don't think that the governor intends to improve our schools. Well, he probably does, but I don't believe that this will improve our schools. And I think that the Rural Community Schools Alliance means to protect the good that we have and not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I don't know about y'all, but I take our babies very seriously.
Thank you. I don't raise this question because I'm opposed to.
I understand.
I just want to hear more conversation about it and hear a variety of points of view. So I really appreciate that, Ann. Thank you.
You know, and further, they're taking this as if Act 46 has achieved its goals. I would dare say that our $67 million budget is a darn sight less transparent, for example, than the $4.5 million Putney budget, which was the last one that we approved. I don't see where student outcomes have gotten any better, and I don't see a dime saved. And just here in our district, we've had to hire more people in our central office to manage all of this. Because of course they have to. Every time somebody makes a new rule, somebody else has to work harder. Every time we ask for information, somebody else has to work harder. Making it bigger, I cannot see it being better. And I don't think that anybody's taxes will go down. And I think even if you live in a town without a school, you'll get taxed just as if you do live in a town with a school. It took 45 minutes for my children to go to Putney Central from my house, which is in Putney. One way, 45 minutes. The kids in Roxbury are riding 2 hours. They don't have a school. Peacham doesn't have a school anymore. Are there some schools that are too small? Of course there are. But this is a just throw it all at the wall and break it. That's what it looks like. And I want to keep what we've got.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Thank you. Jessica, I see your hand up.
Sure. Jessica Everlith from Dummerston. So I have a few questions, but I think, is this Rural School Alliance, or is it legally incorporated in any type of way, or is it currently just a community organization where these schools have come together? That's my first question.
So can you address that and we'll come back to that?
That would be great.
Okay. Cheryl, did you hear that question?
I did not. No, the mic broke up. I didn't hear the question.
Okay. Can you ask it one more
I can
time?
ask again. So I'm curious about the legal incorporation status of the group. Is it a group that has any kind of status, or is it just a community group at this point?
No, it's actually, we have a fiscal sponsor, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So we're simply like a project within an already authorized 501c3 nonprofit organization, which is I think it's the name, it's a Rural Schools Collaborative, but I don't have the proper title in front of me. Dan May MacArthur. I think it's in the letter.
It says
that you've got, Deborah.
It says Vermont Rural Education Collaborative. VRE.
That's it, and that's the official nonprofit.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. And then the other question is about the fundraising capacity of the group. Have any funds been raised yet? And what is the prospecting plan to raise the $50,000?
So, one of the ways that's being discussed is that perhaps a community, if there are 50 in the state that join up, whether it's select board or school board, that if each came up with $1,000, and that could be contributed by individuals, it might be by local businesses, it might be by a school board or a select board. But we've already gotten donations coming in. I'm not tracking all of that. There's a group that's paying attention to it, but why reach out for some help in the legislature? Because this is such a big issue, and we've found, at least some of us, I've not been so directly involved in working with any group that might be considered lobbyists, but it really helps if they can set up meetings with legislators, if they can create the opportunity for those of us who are working on the issue to come in and have an opportunity to have a conversation. It is something that does make sense to me in this case. Is something that would be useful. And to your question, I believe we'll find the money. I actually am confident that we will.
Before you ask the next question, I saw Dan MacArthur wave his hand. Did you want to address this as well?
I do. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, I'm here in a dual capacity. One as the one of the regional reps to the VSBA, but also as a member of the steering committee with Cheryl of this Rural School Community Alliance. And I think in order to clarify the fundraising numbers, we have now entered a contract with Leonine Public Works from Montpelier, and that is to be a $40,000 maximum on that. So that's just new in the last couple of days. As Cheryl said, if communities will pitch in, they will pitch in. I think we all feel comfortable that the money will be raised, and therefore our goal coming here tonight is not to ask for money, but to ask for that there be a philosophical alignment with peoples around the state who are in agreement about this proposed change to funding. And if I could just say a couple of things, Cheryl, you did a wonderful job. Thank you for that. But I think the three things that have bothered me most about the proposal are the one that we'd eliminate all local school board members. All of us would now be represented by a much huger school board. Would we really have, as Ann pointed out, representation? The whole funding mechanism would be thrown out. And now it is a beast, there's no doubt about it. But it actually has a progressive component to it that I don't believe they're going to find if they come back out with the foundation formula, which was considered to be illegal a number of years ago. So, with income sensitivity, there are some advantages to the current system. And the third thing, of course, is the expansion of public monies going to private schools. So I think that there are, between one of those three, there aren't many people around the state who will be back to maybe Sean, I agree with you. I'm not a confrontational type of person, but I also think that there's a time when it comes to stand up and say, this is just too much, and maybe be more effective by doing that. So I think that's all I can think of to throw in at the moment, but thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Jessica, did you have another question?
No, I just want to state I'm not opposed to this either. I was just curious about the thought behind the fundraising. Having working in fundraising, I know sometimes without a plan it cannot be successful, and I'd like to see it succeed.
Yeah, I just want to say questions are a good thing. So it in no way do they indicate hesitation or opposition, but this is our job and this is what we should be doing. Ruby.
So I wanted to speak to kind of Brian's request for further engagement. In my mind, I really appreciated the kind of tone of the request. I appreciate Dan and Cheryl, you attending. It feels to me like this initiative, our district signing on to it gives power. There's power in numbers. And so, having more and more districts and municipalities sign on is really powerful. And I think we all agree, we might not all have exactly the same opinion, but we all agree that our voices are important. And so this group is saying, we will amplify your voices. And so I very much appreciate that. And for that reason, I think that it does absolutely make sense for us to align ourselves with this, put our names on, whatever the list is, of the growing list of school districts and municipalities. That being said, I think that, I don't think it makes sense necessarily tonight, but I think that it does make sense for us to consider how, if we did want to contribute as a district, how would we? Can we? And I think that $1,000 is nothing, and that's less than 50 cents per student. I think that if we do find ourselves with an answer of yes, it is allowable for us as a school district to contribute to this type of an effort, I think we should be considering what, how much and what would we? And I don't necessarily think that we're ready to at this juncture, and I appreciate that Cheryl and Dan have presented that that's not the ask right now, but I think we should be prepared to ask ourselves that question.
Okay, thank you, Ruby. So I really do appreciate the need to unravel the two issues. One is the motion as it exists right now, which is joining the alliance, and then to consider at another point in the future potential donation. Two separate issues. Okay, I'm just looking for board members. All right, Frank Rucker.
Yeah, so just a quick comment. It's really to address what Ann's comments were, and it's not intended to influence the outcome of your vote, but I just want to bring to the board's attention that prior to the merger, average tax rates in our region were between $1.70 and $1.80. Putney's was $1.72 in 2019. Brattleboro High School or Brattleboro region, $1.70. Dummerston was $1.80. If you look at the budget that you're presenting to the public today, for fiscal year 26, it's $1.34. That's 25% less than. So from a taxation point of view, and these are equalized numbers. This is not bringing in the real estate market, and all of the stuff that went on with COVID. But on an equalized level, the merged district, from a efficiency and a cost-effective point of view, is way ahead of the former model. And I know, being very close to programs and working with principals at each individual site, there's been a tremendous investment in our smallest schools as a result of the merger that I am sure would not have happened without it. And it's because of the disincentive of that spending threshold that's out in front and it's back, that would put Guilford, Putney, Dummerston into such a high tax bracket because of the high cost per student. You would be looking at turning back the clock and hundreds of thousands of dollars not having been completed in our small schools for capital improvements for air quality, heating, and so on. So just perspective.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Michelle Green, I see your hand up.
Hey everyone, Michelle Green, Dummerston. I have lots of thoughts and concerns about the governor's plan, and I'm going to save those for our meeting with our representatives. And I appreciate, thank you, Deborah and school board, for organizing that, facilitating that for the public. I just want to say that as far as the board considering joining alliance with this group, I don't think that there's anyone better to come together and ask questions, working with their administrators, of course, but to be able to ask the tough questions about the impact it's going to have on our kids, the impact it's going to have on our families, how, where are our values going? What does our representation look like? What does leadership look like? There's so many unanswered questions. And I think it makes complete sense for there to be an alliance of school boards that come together to examine those together and represent that on a larger level. So I hope that you will take steps forward and join this alliance. I don't see any harm in being part of it. I believe we all have the best intentions for our schools and understand some of the predicaments, but I don't think that the plan itself, it just goes to show that it's really out of touch with Vermonters and the families that, and myself moving to Vermont for the schools, I see many of the very things that drew me to Vermont to be part of our schools looking like they could be abolished. So I hope that the board agrees that this is something to be part of. I think all of your voice is really important, and I'm hearing from other districts, the guests that have been here tonight, and they're speaking very well to the topic. And I have total faith that a larger group of people with this much dedication will really be able to come together, get those ideas, get those tough questions. It's not enough. Legislators have put out some, hey, send me your thoughts. That's so disorganized. This is a path to being really organized and making sure that our questions are answered and that there's accountability behind some of these ideas. Thank you much, guys.
Thank you very much, Michelle Green. Thank you. Jody Normando.
First of all, I agree wholeheartedly with what Michelle had just said. I also agree a lot with what Frank said, but I really would put this out that if we were merged into 5 districts in the state, first of all, would we have Frank as our financial person? Probably not. Would we have Mark as our superintendent? Oh no, we're going down to 5 superintendents. Who's going to win and who's going to lead? We will not have our school board members. We will not have any, as Annie said, we will not have any say in what happens to us. So I think even our administrators have got to stop and think about this. And so, and I'm fully behind Michelle and what she said and other people have said. I hope you will vote for this. I know these people behind this. I don't think you will ever go wrong working with them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jody Normando. Thank you. Nancy Reese.
Deborah, can I just ask a couple of questions?
Can
I just ask a couple of questions? So the first is, I don't think any of us have seen the final proposal. There's still new information and new work that is done on a weekly basis and released. So I'm not sure that we know what we're signing on for or against. And I think that's an important piece of information to consider. That would be my first.
So let's stay with the first question for the moment.
My first kind of quick.
Let's stay with that.
Do we have the final proposal?
Yeah, let's stay with that first question. I'm just going to comment about the governor's proposal. I'm very aware that the details are not out. And what I've heard from legislators is that even on February 24, all the details will not be out. What concerns me, and like Michelle Green, I am a relatively new transplant to Vermont, and I have serious concerns about what this means for this remarkable state. One of my concerns is the proposal says that these changes will begin 2026. That is right around the corner. And so, and in reading everything that has been presented, and it makes for very interesting reading, it's more questions that are generated than answers at this point. But the bare bones is there in terms of what this proposal looks like. So there's that. The other piece of an alliance, it's to go to, I think what Michelle has said, it is a way to solidify voices. Just as we sit here with the 4 towns and we solidify our voice as Windham Southeast. That's all that's going on right now in signing on board. So those are my responses to your first question.
In any way objecting to
No, as I said, questions need to be asked, and that's a very good thing.
So the other thing I think is important from the reading I've done, and maybe I'm wrong about this, the modeling is based on, the chart is based on elementary schools of 450 students. Mm-hmm. but the discussion below that or the notes below that refer to smaller schools. So I think to jump to every school will be 450 elementary school students, for me feels like a huge leap, but maybe people know more than I do. So I'm only asking questions because I want to make sure we're fighting for the things that are really the things that we should be fighting for.
So that number, 450 students, has been thrown out. The size, we don't know. We don't know, and that's the reality. We do not know. I'm going to go, I see a board member's hands up, sorry.
No, I'm
Liz?
just saying thank you for your time.
Liz, I'm putting you on hold for the moment. Matt Chibley.
I'm hearing a lot of consensus, and there remains to be a lot of things that we don't know, we should figure out. But I'm not hearing a ton of folks expressing concern, so I'd like to call the vote.
Okay, Matt Chibley has just called the question, and that shuts down discussion, and we now have to vote on calling the question. So let me just be very clear what this vote looks like. All those in calling the question, meaning that we shut down discussion, and after this vote, if it's in favor of calling the question, we go immediately to the motion and we vote on the motion. So calling the question, all those in favor of calling the question, board members, please indicate by saying aye. 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 Any opposed to calling the question? No. Okay, I'm doing a roll call vote on calling the question. Just bear with me 1 second. All right, roll call vote on calling the question. Calling the question, Ann Beekman.
Aye.
Jessica Everlith.
Aye.
Tim Maceo.
Aye.
Ruby McAdoo.
Aye.
Sean Murphy.
No.
Kim Price.
Aye.
Brian Reamer.
Aye.
Colleen Savage.
Aye.
Matt Chibley.
Aye.
Deborah Stanford, aye. Okay, we are calling the question on this vote. The motion, as it stands, can we hear the motion one more time, please? Matt Chibley.
My apologies.
No apology necessary.
That the Windham Southeast School District join the Rural School Community Alliance.
Okay, all those I'm gonna do a roll call vote, sorry. I'm doing a roll call vote. In favor of the motion for Windham Southeast to join the Rural School Community Alliance, Ann Beekman.
Aye.
Jessica Everlith.
Aye.
Tim Maceo.
Aye.
Ruby McAdoo.
Aye.
Sean Murphy.
Abstain.
Okay. Kim Price.
Aye.
Brian Reamer.
Aye.
Colleen Savage.
Aye.
Matt Chibley.
Aye.
Deborah Stanford, aye. So moved. Okay, we are now part of the Rural School Community Alliance. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Jody's, oh, that's the applause. I didn't know whether her hand was up, and I see.
That's an applause.
Is that Michelle Green
Yes.
also applauding? Yes. And I see smiles on screen right now. Thank you. And Liz Adams, that was an applause as well. All right, and I know there's applause around the room right now. Thank you very much.
Deborah?
Oh, yes, Tim Maceo, thank you.
I would just like to add one more date to your calendars.
To the list of dates.
On February 20th at 1 o'clock, there will be a press conference in Montpelier at the State House for rural legislators that are holding a press conference. So a number of us are going up. The more they're going up there, the better. So this would be a chance to talk to legislators there before we talk to our legislators here on the 24th.
Okay, great, because this is definitely, not, I was about to say it's not a local issue, it's a statewide issue. So I should say it's not just a local issue, it is a statewide issue. Are you going?
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
can you, just to make sure this gets out clearly, can you just put together a little blurb about the February 20th and send it to us?
Sure. Cheryl or Dan, are you still on?
Cheryl and Dan are still on, yes.
Cheryl, do you have anything else to say about that meeting on the 20th?
Can you hear us? Tim is asking if you can add anything else to his comment about February 20th.
Do you have the room number?
One thing I heard, if I can chime in here, Deborah,
Yes,
is that if you will get in touch with your local representative, they can conceivably give you a pink slip, probably a bad choice of words.
They
that
can,
would
they can give us a what?
They can give you a slip of some kind that allows you into the State House to meet with your legislator during the lunch hour. So let your legislator know you're going to be there. Ask them for the slip. That's about all I know. Give it a shot and see what happens.
It's called a pink slip.
Yeah.
A pink slip, or is it like a bathroom pass? Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Let's not call it a pink slip.
Okay, we're not calling it a pink slip. Oh, no. Okay. Anything else about the 20th? Is this going to be, I'm sorry, it's going to be a press conference?
Right. We'll get you more information and we'll get you something in writing.
Oh,
No problem.
perfect. Thank you. Thank you. That's great.
One more thing.
Tim, yes.
I don't want to make a motion on it, but I just have a strong request. Because things are moving, I would like the next regular board meeting discuss the notion of making a donation to the World Schools Community Alliance.
Okay, all right, thank you. And please put that on your list for me for the next
Sure.
meeting. Thank you very much. Okay, this is, all right, so it is 7:11 right now, and I'm looking at the agenda. We are going to do a little bit of board business, talking about leadership councils, subcommittees. Oh, I'm so sorry, I left out ICE. Got it, I'm there now. And I'm wondering, I'm looking around at board members, whether you want to take a 10-minute break at this point. And 10-minute break. Let's take it. I'm sorry.
I say no.
Okay, I'm saying yes. All right, I'm so sorry. I'm overruling you. So we're gonna do a 10-minute break. It's 7:12. We're coming back at 7:22. We're taking a stretch break. Thank you. We are up to the item that says support and safety for students and their families with immigration status. Mark, you handed something out. Do you want to start this going?
Sure, I'll get it started.
Okay.
So I think everybody in the room has a copy of this document. When this question came up at a more recent board meeting, my response was, well, the advice is to follow the law. So from there, I sought legal counsel in terms of applying the law into a document that can be worked with staff in terms of having guidance. So you don't have to memorize the law, but you literally have a procedure in place and an understanding of what you can and cannot do. But essentially, the summary here is we would never grant access to any authority figure to any student in our building unless there was a dangerous, imminent situation happening, which obviously that's what they're there for, or whether there was a judicial warrant issued. That is the only way that we are legally required to grant access to a student. And that's the guidance we are following. that's at that level, the guidance says we will not grant access to any student in our building unless there is a judicial warrant proposed at that visit. And so this is a detailed procedure to follow. I have reviewed this. After receiving this guidance from our attorney, I shared via email with board members, got some feedback. Ann Beekman was terrific. Her advice was we should really provide examples of the two different kinds of warrants and provide that in the packet to help staff in a stressful situation, so you have something to refer to. So those documents have been included as examples. Thank you, Ann Beekman, for that. Next step was I had a meeting with the ML department at the high school, along with UHS administration, the ML department at the middle school, safety officers at the high school. Again, as a group, we reviewed this in detail, kind of walked through it as together. There was a very limited edits, which we agreed upon. And then the next step was I shared this with all of our administrators and directors with the ask of, please share this with your personnel in your school sites, which is currently happening. Other documents that we are in the process of putting together is guidance for our folks who work the front doors. There's these are the first people who greet visitors to our schools. And I think we all know when we're pressed with a stressful situation, it can be very intimidating, and having a little playbook right there at your desk in terms of how to respond, what to say, what to ask for, we think is a very important thing. And individual schools have done that or started to do that in the process. Hopefully by the end of the week, that protocol will be shared before February vacation with all principals and front office staff, or anyone who is working in the front office staff as a substitute. So those are the steps that have been taken. Another thought, which was spoken to at the beginning of the meeting by Eason, is a solidarity statement to our students and families. I do have a draft of that with the help of Michaela Sims, and the hope is to put the finishing touches on that draft and send out, if not Thursday, Friday, but hopefully Thursday. So that's where we are in our process. I know there's a policy meeting tomorrow. This is on the agenda to review as a policy committee. The legal counsel advises us not to create a specific policy, but to adhere to the law. But we'll talk about that as a policy committee tomorrow afternoon at 2:00 in central office.
The agenda is posted on the website, and there is always a Zoom link to that meeting. We're gonna begin, well, the agenda can be adjusted.
I think
Yes.
the concern is if you developed a policy that went against law, and not doing it on purpose, but you did create a policy that had vocabulary that went against the law, you'd really be putting ourselves in a bad situation potentially.
An unfortunate spotlight.
Yes.
Yes, and we don't want that.
Yeah.
No. Okay, Tim Macio.
I'm thinking about our students when they're outside the schools. And a lot of you might have seen this little red card that the adults who are being taught English and cultural studies from ECDC that provides that. It's a little card that on one side it says, you have constitutional rights. Do not open the door if an immigration agent is knocking on your door, etc. On the other side it says, to present to anybody stopping a person. I do not wish to speak with you, answer your questions, or sign or hand you any documents based on my Fifth Amendment rights under the U.S. Constitution, etc. I'm wondering if it would be a good idea for students to have this kind of card.
I think it's a great idea. Absolutely.
Then how do we make it happen? Deborah, can you make it so?
Can you
Can you
provide a
pass it?
copy of that card as a resource that I can share with our different departments?
Sure.
To work with our students on?
Yeah, I was about to say, could you pass
Yeah.
it down the line and it will stop with Hannah Parker, right before.
Yes, exactly.
That'd be great.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Well, that's the other thing we have talked about is how do we educate our students in terms of how to respond, what their rights are. And I know that has happened in pockets, but we need to certainly do more of that moving forward.
Okay, that's great, thank you. Sean Murphy.
Yeah, thank you. Just to sort of reassure a student, if I could, students, I happened to be at an elementary school in the district a couple of weeks ago, and I just inquired what would happen. And they said, no way, we're not opening the door. So I think people know, they're very well aware of the rights and the laws. And I just wrote something. I don't know if it's going to make any sense to anybody, but by acknowledging or the acquiescence that an executive order is binding leads a false credence to that order when none is due.
Okay, could you read that one more time, please? Okay, read it one more time.
By acknowledging or the acquiescence that an executive order is binding lends a false credence to that order when none is due.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Would you do me a favor, please? Would you send me a copy of that as we, Sean?
I bet Matt already has it.
Oh, I see. No, but could you send it to me in preparation for tomorrow's policy meeting?
Oh, sure.
Yes, thank you. All right. Ruby.
I had two comments. The first actually is I really appreciated this document. I think I had one comment that was kind of an edit. And this isn't just about this document. I've seen it across many documents unrelated to our district at all. When you differentiate between the two types of warrants, the judicial warrant and the administrative warrant, sometimes the administrative warrant is called an administrative warrant, and sometimes it's called an ICE warrant. And I think that having real consistency across how they're, what they're referred to, and if in practice it's called an ICE warrant, but it's really an administrative warrant, having a parenthetical of one or the other, just having that clarity in the under point 6 and then on the back where you list the attachments. And I think the usefulness of that really is that the administrative warrant, the ICE warrant, is like when you look at it, it's not it doesn't say ICE, it doesn't say administrative. It makes you feel it's legit, and it, you like open the door, you got to. It says warrant, and so that's the what I appreciated about this approach is it's not saying alarm bells, watch out for this thing. It's trying to arm people with information, and that's one of those things that I felt a little bit confused by. What is an ICE warrant? What is an administrative warrant? Yeah. So that's just a comment.
That's helpful.
And then the second is, and this is really in thinking about the work of the Communications Council, where that group helps to amplify the work of the board and the district, to pass on information. I think one of the things that we've done, and I think that the central office does it sometimes too, is make things like this into pretty, like, easily posted on the internet, easily passed out, and digestible by students. I think that it would be great to see that happen with this information. And there are examples of it. I haven't looked at the Mount Mansfield information, but I've looked at a number of other municipalities and schools, and they have done a good job at trying to take this information and make it, easily digestible. So I would just encourage you to take that next step to make, so that we're not kind of like putting this out in memo form on the internet, like on social media or via email. Something that is a little bit more laid out would be helpful.
Thank you. Great. Okay, other comment, please, on this topic.
I want to second what she said about a digestible format.
Okay, all right, that was just seconded, a non-motion. Thank you, Jessica. Okay, other comment. Yes, would you identify yourself and your town, please? We're standing.
Hi,
Okay.
Hi, I am Olivia Clark, and this is
Henry Zucchini.
we are here as representatives from the Windham Southeast Education Association. We would like to both mirror things that have already been said tonight from students and from administration, and offer sample language potentially for the policy committee tomorrow. We have, I didn't print out copies just because there's so many of you here, but I can send this to Mark, who I think can get it to everyone. This is sample language that is from the NEA that has been passed in different places around the country. We did change this language a little bit to mirror what the administration has done in grounding this language in the law, which is really important, we believe, and this has been endorsed by our board of directors. And I think I can go ahead and say that even if this policy language isn't passed, but I know that Michaela has language that is weaving its way through the policy committee potentially, or even what Mark presented tonight is what's passed, we would really like to endorse a passing of language such as this for policy. I can say I never take off my ML teacher hat. I am the ML teacher at BAMS. And so passing policy like this would both help our students and our families and other teachers.
ML has been used a few times. Can you just define that, please?
Sure. ML is multilingual.
Thank you.
Learner teacher. Sometimes we're ESL, sometimes we're ELL, which is kind of confusing. But in this district, we mostly use ML.
Okay. And before I forget, I know you're going to continue. Could you please send me a copy of that this evening?
Yep.
Okay. My day starts in rapid fire after this meeting as I go into policy tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have much more to say on the subject other than we just, as the WSEA, we would really like to also endorse a passing of this policy.
Right.
Yeah, I would concur.
Yeah. And so I can actually pass the physical copy to you right now, and then I'll give you.
Yes, that would be great. And but also, could you send it to me this evening?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
I just don't have my computer with me, but.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Perfect. All right. Other comment? Yes, Thea, would you introduce yourself and your town, please?
Thea, I'm one of the student reps. I'm from Putney. I have two things to say. One on the line of the policy. I think that in a situation like this, it's really important to have a policy, although I do understand that obviously a policy that goes against the law would not be reasonable. I think that there shouldn't be room for there shouldn't be wiggle room in the procedure when a student could be detained or arrested or imprisoned or sent possibly to a dangerous situation in another country.
So I think that we need to have a very clear, very straightforward procedure. I would also say, I think that teachers and administration and adults and students, if possible, need to be trained on a specific procedure, because I think that this piece of paper is really useful and it's a lot of really good information, but I think that in order for it to be useful in the moment, by the time a teacher manages to find this paper and read through the paper to the step that they need, ICE has already gotten whichever student. And I think, I just think really clear guidelines would be helpful.
I agree with that, yeah. I think training is very important.
Thank you, Thea, thank you. Other comments? Yes, okay, thank you. Would you introduce yourself and your town?
I'm Sage Ruth, I'm from Brattleboro. I want to echo what everyone shared, and I do really appreciate, I think at the end of the day, having clear policies and procedures is incredibly important. I do really want to encourage the district to think about, and maybe it's that statement of solidarity with the framing language, because even though at the end of the day it's about following the law, I think recognizing that there is just a disproportionate emotional impact that this is having on students, and even putting that statement on the website, on school walls, and just sending that message of where the district stands with regards to in solidarity with students, I think is incredibly important. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, which is not relevant to the immigration topic, but I did hear gender identity named in the student advisory letter, and that hasn't been specifically addressed, and I wanted to make sure that didn't get dropped.
Yeah, that's part of the plan of communication.
But we do have a policy on that.
That's great. I just wanted to
Yes,
mention it
yes.
because they raised the question and we didn't.
Yes, but, and even with policy in place, we need to heighten our awareness about the policy and the enforcement of the policy. I think that's really critical in these times. I would like to thank the numerous community members, and I include individuals employed by the district, but community members in reaching out on this topic. This has been critical. So thank you very much. Yeah. I think I have responded very briefly to everyone's emails, but to say we're doing this tonight and it's on the agenda for tomorrow, and that means that it will probably be on the agenda again for policy in 2 weeks, because these are ongoing discussions and it doesn't get defined in one session necessarily. But there is heightened consciousness about this issue. Hannah Parker.
I just wanted to share, since it was brought up, that the transgender policy has come in very handy a couple times in the last week, so it's definitely been referenced and it has been helpful to support students.
Great, that's great to hear. Okay, we like to know that the policy really has teeth to it. That's what we want. Other comment on this issue? Thea.
I just have one more thing that I forgot to say, which is that I also know, as well as a warrant has to be a judicial warrant, a valid judicial warrant also has to have the specific name of a student that they want to arrest, as well as a location where they can find that student. So they need to be able to specify, like, the student's in gym class and that's where I want to go. I think that might be useful to add to this.
Sounds great.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Obviously, these discussions are not over. This is the beginning and we will have watchful eyes. And so, again, communicate with your school personnel, communicate with the board, let us know, and know that we are on these issues. Anything else on this? Okay, we are moving on to Leadership Council updates. Are there any Leadership Council updates?
Yeah.
And again, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. I am just going to, I know, I'm just going to, I see people putting on coats, and I know that perhaps students, it's time to go home and do your homework or catch that ride downstairs. But again, I just want to say to the students who are present, thank you. It makes a difference for us to see you, for us to hear your voices. And you have been so clear on both of these critical issues. So thank you very, very much. Thank you. Okay. Tim, we are turning to Leadership Council updates.
Yeah, the Vance Leadership Council hosted a ski event at the Memorial Park, January 24th, I think. Big success.
And skate.
And
Ski and skate.
Ski and skating, yeah. What a good event. Matt was, you were there.
I was there. It was excellent.
The other thing is there's a question from the Leadership Council, when the Leadership Council chairs will meet.
There's not a date in the books yet. But that's a good reminder to get that stuff.
Thank you. Okay, any other Leadership Council updates? Yes.
Sure. Just wanted to mention this because it kind of relates to our conversation we've been having. So Deborah and I have a Leadership Council meeting this week for Dummerston School, and the Dummerston Leadership Council has been working with the school-based diversity and equity group to have a LGBTQ family forum when we return from break on February 27th. So we've been working with our school-based team, the LC, Michaela's office, Shannon, to plan this event. Scott Kaltenbaugh is facilitating. We're having like a pizza dinner together. The event is for LGBTQ plus students, families, staff, and allies. And it's an opportunity for us to connect, have time for community, learn about students and families' experience at school. One of our goals as a leadership council, we have two main goals. One is building our volunteer corps, and the second is around increasing our competency in creating inclusive LGBTQ plus environment at our school. So this is one of the events we're having, in association with that goal. We've been planning it for a couple of months, and of course the urgency around it feels like really big right now. So really looking forward to that event, and we're going to continue kind of fine-tuning the planning is on our agenda for Thursday night.
Cool.
Right, and that is on February 27th, I think between 6 and 7:30.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Same night as the candidates forum. But, oh my goodness, packed schedule. But I maybe that's a little selfish on my part to say that. But yes. Okay. Sean.
Yeah, I would just like to make a brief comment about the Guilford Leadership Council. They met last week, and it's a leadership council and a PTO combined. So they start out with the LC, and then they go into the PTO. And it was a very good meeting. And also the two candidates who are running for the empty 3-year seat in Guilford were in attendance, and it was very nice. Very nice to hear what everybody had to say.
Ruby?
The BUHS Leadership Council met last week, and there were two notable things. One is I anticipate there will be discussion at the board level about it, but Ricky Davidson,
MVP.
He gave a really wonderful, clear presentation about the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, and it was really insightful. And if you're interested in it, I know that I can get the slides from him, but hopefully that will come to the board level as well. It was really wonderful to have that shared with community members. And then the second point is something that was in the paper, so I'm just raising it, that there was a shift in the procedures around cell phone usage at BUHS, and that was talked about, and Hannah gave some kind of explanations of what that's looking like. I know that came up to board discussion. So there wasn't a major shift in policy or a major shift even in procedure, but there was a way in which it's being kind of implemented in a very strategic way. And that was laid out in a reform article that I'm happy to forward to anybody if you have any questions about that.
Okay, thank you. Tim?
A question and comment. The Youth Risk Behavior Survey, was it recently administered? Are the results of a new one?
The results take like 2 years to come out, but.
I know it comes every
it's
2
been
years, but
administered.
did we just do one?
Yeah, we just did one on Monday.
Oh, and the results already came out?
No, these are results from
This is the results we just got from 2 years ago.
Gotcha, okay. The other is a comment. That Reformer article was really inspiring, and it reminded me about how well you handled the another contentious issue, the mascot issue. You did it deliberatively, collaboratively. You used data to make decision makings. You referred to the great book, The Anxious Generation. So I just want to commend Hannah and the high school for handling what could have been a divisive, contentious issue so well. And the results are going to result in students learning better, which is what we're all about. So
Just to be
thank
clear,
you.
I'm sitting in the seat, but every single person in the building has been doing the work for.
Of course, because that's why you operate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I am curious though, with a student in the room, how he thinks the cell phone thing's going.
Oh, I was wondering. I didn't know if you were quite on the
If
topic,
I'm
but
able to ask that question.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's absolutely amazing. I was definitely I wasn't specifically on the cell phone committee, but I'm definitely an advocate for it, as it's an addiction. That's the bottom line. People are addicted, and to combat addiction, especially in school, which is a place of learning, you need to take steps, and that's what we started to do. And I think one of the most important things that admin have done is they create a procedure to get this type of thing done. And in doing that, it creates teachers actually have something to follow, so there can be none of the type of talk like, oh, but this teacher lets me have my phone in class, which often happens. So, and I've heard great reviews. In a meeting with Hannah recently, I don't know if she was there, but or yes, you were there, but one of the teachers, I'm forgetting right now, but she said that without phones being the contentious point for a student, they were able to focus more and they weren't like holding it against the teacher that they weren't able to use their phone. So it was really a moment of like connection between teacher and student, which is what we're trying to get in this institution. So yes, I'm really enjoying it, and thank you.
Conversation. Put on the spot.
Gee, that was really a well-spoken, persuasive argument, wasn't it? Yes, I think about my time in the classroom and these being open, and I would say, close it. Just close it. Let's just look at each other across the room instead of on the screen. That is not a comment for this moment, okay? I mean, it is not, but it is exactly what you're talking about. Yes, let's look at each other. Thank you. Okay, I am moving on. No, I'm not. Matt Shibley.
Green Street Leadership Council met this week. We talked about some recent board discussions, and I think the Green Street Leadership Council is in support of what we're doing regarding the budget and the fiscal, the facilities plan. Would love to continue to have more discussion, would encourage the board to have more discussion about it, but are in line with it. And we also had a really good discussion about winter sports and perhaps how to continue to leverage the resources within the district in regards to winter sports. as that was something that could possibly be an opportunity. So those are our two topics from this week.
Okay, thank you. Michelle Green.
Hi guys, Michelle Green from Dummerston. This is sort of a public comment, and also I'm going to piggyback off what Julianne said as one of the co-chairs at Dummerston Leadership Council. One of the topics that I don't think you guys have discussed, and I don't see it on tomorrow's agenda for the SU board, and the SU board oversees our diversity, equity, and inclusion department, is hearing a little bit from our school system on our commitments around our DEI programs. I know it's important to us, and we're doing excellent work. I anticipated Julianne kind of updating us on Thursday, but I was surprised to not see it on the SU agenda for tomorrow. And I just hope that that's on, I'm sure it's on your guys' radar, but I hope that soon enough, you guys will be able to speak up and share with the community and the public your thoughts and commitments, ongoing commitments to our DEI programs and everything that we're committed to. That's what I needed to say. Thank you.
Just thank you very much, Michelle. Just to be a little snarky, you mean the XYZ program? Never mind. I'm sorry. DEI has become a target. Yes. So I just switched it to XYZ. Right, to go underground. Okay, my snarkiness did not go over well. I really do appreciate that, Michelle. Just a heads up, tomorrow's agenda is, for the SU, is extraordinarily different. It is a summit. It is the three boards coming together to discuss, if I remember correctly, the educational, what trends and gaps are we seeing in student performance, and to what extent are multiple systems of support impacting students academically. So it's a data-packed evening for us. Your point about DEI is well taken. We need to address that.
Well, it's essentially a mid-year report.
Yes.
I think Michaela wanted to comment.
I'm calling on her. I see her. Yes, Michaela. Yes.
I think that I was just going to make the point that at our leadership meeting on Friday, one of the things we discussed, and I think it's like concurrence of all the principals and all the leadership in our district, that for us, our equity commitment is business as usual, and moving it forward as well as we can. We're doing the best that we can with what we got, and it's pretty good. And I would say tomorrow we will have some discussion on, I'm slide number 40. That lots of slides. About equity work in our current state. So it is on the table, and I think we're all committed.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Business as usual. Yes. Okay, should I move on at this point? Do I see any hands? All right. We are up to board subcommittees and supervisory union updates. Thank you to everyone who's been here this evening. Yes, Sean.
I'll make it very brief. The Finance Committee met tonight at 5 o'clock. And we discussed a number of things, and Ruby, I think, will have something to say about that. But then we also went over the capital plan. So just what Matt was discussing, the capital plan is, up front and center and very important for keeping, all these buildings in tip-top shape with good, fresh air. It's important work.
Okay, Ruby?
So the other piece that we discussed at the Finance Committee was a draft slideshow that it would potentially be a tool that the board can utilize to help engage community members around understanding the intricacies of the budget. And so this came from, I think we all know, we've heard over the past number of months, a refrain along the lines of, why aren't you engaging? Why aren't you telling people about the importance of the budget? And so I think that I've thought for a while that we could do more. We could do more to engage. And so this slideshow, this like, you know, the slide deck is an attempt to give us a tool that we could utilize. And we could utilize it in a number of ways. And I think what we talked about at the finance committee level is that the ways that would be the most logical way now would be to you know, have the board utilize this slideshow to bring to leadership councils if there's a leadership council between now and the annual meeting. Potentially there are other ways in which, you know, if you engage with community members, you could have a meeting, you could bring it to coffee with someone. But ultimately it wouldn't necessarily be something that we would utilize as a slide, you know, presentation at the annual meeting. It would be for the lead up. And this does not replace in any way the informational session on March 11th. You know, and this is a slide deck that is our voice, the board's interpretation of the information that comes from central office. The formal public info session is really an opportunity for Frank to present the budget documents, which is his voice. And so what I think what led me to draft this was hearing, I think a few times, mostly coming from the finance committee meeting, but hearing that the board's voice in advocating for the budget, presenting the budget, has kind of diminished since we have merged. And so I think this is an opportunity, this is an example of how we can step into a role of really presenting the budget, presenting it, and engaging with the public around it. And that's not to say, like, let's dive into the budget and look at different things. I think we could do a lot better at engaging people much earlier, setting forth, like, how does one enter into the budget, like, planning process, but we're not in the planning process anymore. We are presenting the budget. And so this is a presentation. So anyway, the document that I believe was forwarded.
It was forwarded to everyone.
Yeah, to everyone. Yes. The document that was forwarded to everyone was discussed at the finance committee meeting, and it's currently in draft form. But if we are able to approve it tonight, then we would kind of put it to use. I can say that the document that was sent to you was probably about 16 or 17 pages long. There's a section at the end that we decided wasn't ready for prime time. There were too many questions and like a little bit of lack of clarity about those slides. So it's the first 10, I think it's the first 10 slides. And then everything after, there's a yellow slide, all of the details after that, we decided to put on hold. I will remove them, and we may consider them for, like, how can we improve them and make them clearer for future years, but for this year, it's really just those first 10 slides.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think that the finance committee reviewed it, was okay with it, ready to move it on, and the question of whether or not it makes sense for this board to kind of somehow consider it, somehow accept use of it, you know, think about how to roll it out is it's kind of, I present that to you as much.
Yeah, I think if you could resend the document in the finished form.
Yes, I think that I can do
and
that.
And then I will send that out for everyone to see. And it sounds as if this should be on the next agenda.
Well, I think that I Yes, but I think that the reality is that there are some, with the timing of town meeting,
Yeah.
and just the nature of this time of year, there are some leadership councils who will only be meeting between now and our next board meeting. So I think that there really were no substantive changes to the document, the first 10 pages of the document that were presented. So what you all received, I can definitely resend a version that removes the pages that are not being considered, but the first 10 pages are as is.
Good, okay.
It was a recommendation of the Finance Committee to move this forward, 1 through 10. And I don't know if you need a motion to do that, or?
If this is, so my feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if this is coming from the board, I would think that we need a motion.
So I
it's
would
not-
move that the WSCSD board approve the PowerPoint that has been developed, pages 1 through 10, and to be distributed wherever it's advantageous.
Second. Okay, we have a second. This is open for discussion. Third slide. Can I go to it?
Yeah.
Third slide, where all students grow academically, socially, and emotionally. Right at the very bottom, so penultimate line. Got it? See it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the first 10 pages.
Will you be also adding that last page to make page 11?
I actually just, I switched out the photo.
Okay.
We like the photo on the very, very end, so I switched it for on page 10, but it's a non-substantive
So 1 through
change.
10 would be what it is.
1 through 10, and 10 ends with, we are happy to answer your questions, vote on the WSESD.
Yeah.
Okay, and the rest of it is a no-go at this point,
Yeah, everything else.
unfortunately.
One thing I forgot to ask is, all the photographs of all the students have all been vetted?
All of the photographs have come from social media of the schools. So
it's
to
already
that,
out there.
from that perspective, yes.
Okay, got it.
But we as a school board have not sought out permissions, but they have come from social media for schools.
So that's probably acceptable.
One can always have comment about photographs and choice of photographs. I reserve that. Yes, Kim.
I just wanted to say thank you to Ruby.
Yeah.
This was a lot of hard work that you put in, and you sent it off, and you spoke with Frank and Mark, and you took into account Frank's suggestions, and I think it's an excellent thing and a great starting point for what we want to do to present to the public and to make it a little easier for people to understand.
Yeah,
because the numbers can get. If somebody doesn't like math, they don't like coming and looking at our charts. So
I second what Kim just said. Bravo. Thank you very much.
And I want to just thank Carrie Amadon. The seeds of this idea came from Vernon, because the Vernon board has they're a different community and they have a different way of engaging with the public, but for many years they have done something similar to this. They utilize it maybe differently than we will, but she shared with me everything she had. She reviewed early drafts, and she was really really supportive because she cares about our district.
Right.
So I really appreciate that, and thank you.
Thank you, Carrie Amadon. Thank you, Ruby McAdoo. Thank you. I just want to say, as a, she's right behind you.
Oh, hey, Carrie.
She is
Thanks,
right behind you. Yes, exactly. That was well done. I just want to say that I really do appreciate the first 10 pages. And what I zoned in on as a community member, struggling with the calculations. But what I zoned in on are the subsequent pages after the yellow one, because that's what I need in place for me. To have the language and to actually see those calculations laid out almost on a just clean, where that's all I see, and oh my God, okay.
And there's a chance that it could be added back in.
Yes.
It's just a matter of
Time.
if there's enough time.
Yeah, and I think that my intention is to actually take time now with Frank, really, because he's the expert on many of these, calculations and formulas, to improve those slides so that they are accurate and reflect what we want them to.
Right.
But rushing to do that now wasn't the right move. So we will hopefully do that in order to prepare us to be more prepared for next cycle.
Golly, I think this is great. Thank you. I definitely need it. I need the whole package. Right. So this is not a criticism of the first 10 pages. Bravo, well done. Get me more. Yeah, hungry for more. This is great. What a great moment for us as a district. To follow in the leadership model of Vernon. You're welcome. Okay. Anything else from?
We need to vote. We made a motion.
I put it away. Yeah, okay, the first 10 pages, there is a motion. And it has, the motion is?
That the WSCSD board approve the presentation pages 1 through 10.
Right.
And distribute it wherever it is advantageous.
Okay, thank you. Motion, and it was seconded?
Indeed.
Indeed it was. We've had discussion. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion has passed. Thank you very much.
I will remove the draft. I will make the minor edits and forward it to you and to the board.
Thank you.
And in terms of how we engage, I think the Communications Council will take this and within the next few weeks possibly put on social media, but we'll think about ways to engage.
Okay.
And of course, board members hopefully are doing the same. If you have any questions about it or need clarity about any of the slides, feel free to reach out to me.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Anything else? Board subcommittees, SU updates? Okay, we are ready to move on. Let's go to, this has been on hold for quite a while. The value of a common read, potential recommendations. Tim, Sean, and Brian.
I defer my time to Brian.
Thank you.
So we were asked to look at a couple of different books and articles to use for common read. We liked everything that we saw and that we read, and we came around to raising the question of what is the real purpose behind the read. And our understanding was that this would be for the retreat that we have with administrators later in the year, towards the end of the academic year. And so we thought that whatever we read in common as a board and as administrators should be linked to what the purpose of that meeting is. So we are suggesting that we wait until we know what the purpose and intention of that meeting is, or what the goal is, so that we can choose then, or recommend from among the things that we've read or other things, what would fit with the overall purpose of that meeting.
Okay, thank you. I think from my perspective and the work that we did last year, it goes way beyond the admin board retreat in June. It's a way of building cohesion and unity and having a commonality of topics. I do know that one of the books is Equity from the Boardroom to the Classroom. From my perspective, we're going to be talking about that at the retreat in a very generalized way. And I know from Mark that he is doing, he has a common read right now with his leadership team. And it is entitled 5 Practices for Equity-Focused School Leadership. I think perhaps as board chair, I'm stepping out of my role a little bit in terms of the selections. One book was a series of essays. We could have cherry-picked the essays. So the issue with 5 Practices for Equity-Focused School Leadership, I looked it up very briefly online. It's an expensive book. And I don't think that it could go round, and that is Mark's choice. This was just sort of taking what we did last year, where we piggybacked as a board on what the superintendent and principals and directors were reading. And when I immediately heard that, I thought, oh my God, we should all be reading it. I don't care what it is. So it created a cohesive nature. We are almost at the end of February. This is February 11. You know, the meetings that we've got set up, the issues we're going to, it'll be March. Anyway, that's my impassioned comment. So, Matt Shibley.
I too would echo that, and beyond just the board retreat, I appreciated Mark's offering last year as a new board member the opportunity to sharpen my tool set and become a more efficient, more effective board member myself. I appreciated the read. I think there's opportunity for us to continue to improve as a board, how we function, how we collaborate with administration. So I would say, I would encourage this board to consider continuing to educate ourselves and to pick a common read that the administration and board could engage in.
I must say, I, as a board member, was not in love with the choice, and everybody was raving about it, the author. For my taste, it didn't matter. It was the exercise we did, it was the reading, and it was what I actually took away from it ultimately, whether in agreement or not. So I just want to position that. Tim.
But I'd like to add it in the end. I read the book. It resonated deeply with me because that was my field. But for others, it's just, administration is not their field, so it didn't resonate. And in the end, so as not to burden administrators, they're asked to read just one chapter. And I just didn't think that went across very well when you broke up into groups and just talked about one chapter of a book that was pretty cohesive. You know, I send out things all the time for board review from Ed Week and such, and there's very little response. So I think it's incumbent as board members to continually educate ourselves. But a common read, I just don't see it working for cohesion or for board edification.
In response to that, I say we did it once. Let's do it again. Sometimes it works differently. It was the way, for my taste, it was the way the exercise was organized. And as I said, I was not enamored of the book, but I got a lot out of it. And I got a lot out of the experience. And reading articles that are sent online, and I thank you, Tim, for churning them out and sending them to us. It's just not the same experience as knowing that we are doing a common read, looking at someone and saying, oh, do you agree with that? How did you feel about that? So I think we're missing out on an opportunity. If we don't do it this year, so be it. I'm certainly going to advocate for this experience next year. But I do think we're missing out on something really, really valuable. So, and maybe I'm speaking from my heart as an educator. And anyway, Brian.
Yeah, if I could just explain some of our thinking further. It's not that we did not want to do a common read, it's that there were so many things that would be wonderful sources of discussion that we couldn't narrow it without more information about how we might use that at the retreat, how it might inform us going forward, and how it might be something that we would choose that would resonate and also provide good contemplation for all of us. Some of the books that we looked at, we liked. We also felt like the content they were important topics that we were already quite well aware of and that we thought that the staff was very well aware of. And so we didn't know what would be a new perspective on some of those topics. Particularly the one book that I will speak about that I'm not recalling the title right now, but that was about teaching in a fractious political environment. It's something that people have been doing now for a good 8 years or more. So that particular book didn't seem to offer a lot for us to chew on. So I'll circle back to what I said at the beginning, that we're not opposed to having a common read. We're just requesting some more information before we settle on one. That said, for me personally, if there's somebody who already has a book that they think we should read, I'm fine, let's read it. It would be nice to know that it's tied to something we're going to discuss. And speaking of discussing, I don't want to belabor this and take up more time that we have today. We can go back to the drawing board offline if that makes more sense to folks.
Okay, thank you very much, thank you. It's hard to do this work. Teacher appreciation, recommendations. This has also been on hold and I think we need to make a decision. So, Ruby.
So I sent around to the board around the time of the last meeting, kind of a summary of the survey. I can't say, I don't think that we need to pick apart what the results were. I think that what I'd like to propose at the bottom of that summary, I kind of laid out a few options we might consider. I think one of them was brought to us by staff. There is a professional development opportunity where many of the staff, the paras and the teaching staff will be in attendance, and there was an opportunity to provide breakfast for that event. And so I just want to acknowledge that did come to us from a staff as far as a proposal. Another proposal that, or an option that we I think we should be considering is to not actually spend money on food items, whether it's at a professional development or the kind of platter approach that we have done in the past. I think that one thing that's been floated for some time is the idea of making a donation in honor of our staff and acknowledging our staff in that way, choosing a local entity that has an immense impact on our community. I have some thoughts about what organization that could be. And I put that forth in the option. I think that ECDC, the Ethiopian, I can't actually remember what ECDC stands for, but essentially the organization that supports many refugee families in our town and is a partner for some of our multilingual students and teachers who work with our ML students. So I would suggest that we consider making a donation. I would propose $6,000, which is less than what we would be spending on food items. And so that was the option I put forward. I'm happy to make a motion about it, but I also don't want to curtail conversation.
Well, there's always discussion within a motion.
Yeah.
Yes, so true, so true. Matt Shipley.
I appreciated the survey that you sent out, and noting within it of the 70 total respondents, 56 folks indicated that food and platter were preferable, and in regards to the cost, the majority, 40 of the 70 respondents, indicated that $9 per staff member was reasonable. I appreciate making donations to local organizations, nonprofits. I think prior board members had brought up perhaps funding or augmenting summer camps as a reasonable thing. I think all those are good activities for the board to do. I don't want us to get away from the spirit of staff appreciation. Our teachers do amazing work. And I think we as a board need to be taking care of our staff and teachers directly. So I think we could do both. I would like to honor the respondents and continue to support them with what they're requesting, and that's food.
Sean.
Yeah, I sent around the wellness policy. I don't know if everybody had a chance to see it. I just got it today. So I sent it around, and it lays out very clearly all about the importance of presenting a diet that has to do with wellness and physical well-being. And so I voted against this last year, and I think I'll vote against it again. I think that, using part of the $250,000 that the budget has, $9,000, to express appreciation, I'm not in favor of it. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate the teachers, but I'm just not in favor of this whole initiative. So I would hope that we could get some resolution quickly.
Okay. All right.
Come.
Tim.
Yeah, I just, we spent so much time talking about this. Whatever decision we make this year, I hope that it's accepted as something that we do annually. So every year we don't talk about what to do for teacher appreciation.
Okay. So where do we stand with this at this point?
I mean, I'm not sure that we have consensus about anything. I'm happy to make a motion in terms of what I believe is the right way forward. Before I do, can I just respond to something that comment on something Matt said? If you look to the various options that I laid out, one of the things that is a refrain in them is the board making a commitment before the end of the year to visit all of the schools during the school day and be in the schools. And I think that's a moment for us to very, very deliberately say to the staff, we're coming to visit. Maybe it's two of us at a time. It could be one of us at a time, whatever it is. And it doesn't mean they have to host us, but it means that those staff see us. And I do think last year Brian drafted a really beautiful letter that we printed, out, but we also sent by email and posted on the website. Those things are still, I think those are non-negotiable. Those are things we should be doing. And I don't think they replace fun little things like, pastries, but it feels like yes, in the numbers, the majority of people said, oh yes, we love the platters, but it was a small percentage of our staff that actually responded. And the voices that were like, you're wasting time, how dare you, we're also there. And so I think that I would like to make a motion that the board, for staff appreciation, contribute $6,000 to ECDC in honor of our staff.
That's the Ethiopian Community Development Alliance.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm sorry, it's EDUC?
ECDC.
ECDC, okay. Motion. Second?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a second, all right. Discussion. Matt.
I wanted to know, I agree that the board visit, the letter was particularly positive, impactful. On the survey, it did indicate of the 70 respondents, 2 people thought the board visit would be an appropriate way of showing appreciation, and double that, 4 people indicated doing nothing would be more appreciated. So those are things to reckon with as a board.
Okay. Brian.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the thought of making a donation to ECDC. I do a lot of work with them and with several different families that they support. However, I feel uncomfortable singling out a particular nonprofit organization over the scads of other nonprofit organizations doing great work. So I'm a little bit uneasy about that. Otherwise, I think the motion is fine, so I'm not quite sure what to do with that.
Okay, thank you. Kim.
This is not our money, it's public money. And are we able to donate public money to another group?
Yes. We've done it before.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not responding because I don't know.
That's a question I was going through my mind as well.
We've done it before. When have we done
For
what?
example, in lieu of payment to Christina Naylor.
But that was for payment for
Service.
a service.
And that was her choice.
Okay, and then Act 46, well, that's a whole different thing, the lobbyist.
Okay, so,
I'll seek legal.
Okay, right.
thought on it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sean, did you have your hand up?
Once again, I think I would echo what Kim just said. It's not our right,
Right.
as far as I'm concerned,
Mhm.
to just all of a sudden say, hey, here is $6,000, no matter who it is. I don't think the money should be spent. So, thank you.
Okay, all right. And Ruby, and then we have a community member online with a hand up.
Yes, so I think that just to speak to a concern that Brian raised around singling out one organization over the many others, I would think, and this harkens to what Tim said, I would hope that if we go in this direction, we choose to do this, we have created a pattern whereby we as a board can each year consider a different organization, maybe Groundworks, maybe, there's the Women's Freedom Center has been impactful. I think the reason I would elevate ECDC is, first of all, they really are a partner, and they do work with our school. And they very recently have been extremely impacted and have put out a call for help, community help. And so from that perspective, it's a timely moment. I tend to think that we should, if we do not choose to do this, we should not choose to do food items. It feels like we shouldn't keep going around in this. It feels to me like it's this approach, or as Sean has said, don't make an expenditure, but we should write a letter and we should visit the schools no matter what.
We unravel that. That's something different, yes. Mm-hmm. And, okay, Tim.
Quick comment. Everything we do should be a model for students. And one of the goals of our graduates in the portraits of a graduate is compassion. This would be modeling compassion.
Thank you. We have a community member with a hand up, and then I want to wrap up this discussion. Michelle, can you be brief, please?
Of course.
Yes, of course. Sorry about that.
It's okay, it's late. Michelle Green, Dummerston, co-chair of the Dummerston Leadership Council. And I appreciate the heart and sentiment here, and I'm hearing all sides. And I just wanted to throw out a consideration that perhaps instead of making a large contribution, you think about maybe providing some funds to leadership councils as a gift from the school board to be able to oversee something like teacher appreciation. Currently, it's just parents that pull out of their pockets. It's what we can come up with. It's us baking, muffins in the morning. But maybe that's a consideration as a subcommittee of the board, that as the leadership councils can oversee individual school teacher appreciations with the support of the Windham Southeast School District Board. Just a thought.
Okay. Okay. We've had some discussion about this issue. We have a motion, and are we ready to vote on this motion as it stands? We are ready. Okay, can I hear the motion, please?
That the board for staff appreciation contribute $6,000 to ECDC on behalf of our staff.
Right. Okay. All right. So we are voting. Anne?
Nay.
Mm-hmm. Jessica?
Nay.
Tim?
Yay.
I'm sorry, was that
Yes.
a Y or an N?
Yay.
That's a yes. Okay. Ruby?
Yes.
Sean?
No.
Kim?
No.
Brian?
No.
Colleen?
Nay.
Matt?
Nay.
Deborah? Nay. Okay. We are not making this contribution, and we are not expending any money. Can I say that? Is that the next step, or but we're not continuing this discussion this evening. We have to move on from this evening. Okay, we're moving on from this evening.
May I ask a
Yes,
question?
you may.
Do you intend to have this on future agendas, or are we like wrapping up?
I think we need to wrap this up this year. This is February. We've had so many discussions about this. So that's my concern right now. And yes.
Then I'd like to put forward a motion that the WSD
WSESD.
sorry. Fund a food. Support feeding staff in a event in collaboration with Mark to demonstrate appreciation to the tune to not to exceed $9 per staff member.
So moved, or so seconded.
Can we, do we wanna say we would do it in March or?
At a time to be determined in collaboration with administration.
Is Mark good with that?
I can speak to.
Ruby.
So there is an event, a professional development event that was put forward. It's one of the options there that's coming up in March. And it does only, the attendees would be teaching staff and paras, so it's not necessarily all of the staff in the district. So the $9 per staff, you know, I think it would be appropriately $9 per attending staff. But I think that the central office is waiting for this conversation, so that would be like Mark, you know, that would be the logical, if we vote up this motion, that would be the logical step.
It's March 3rd is the in-service day.
So are we amending this motion to say not to exceed $9 at the, March 3rd? March 3rd PD, which does not include everyone. I did hear that, didn't I? Okay, Sean.
Yeah, that's what concerns me. Once again, I would vote against this motion because it's supposed to be appreciation of all staff. It's 435. So all of a sudden you single out 20, and yes, we buy you breakfast. And I want to make sure every staff person, and maybe I can do it right now, we appreciate you. Thank you very much for all that you do all the time.
Right. I do have a problem with that.
So no amendment to my motion. I would leave it as stands that we would work with Mark to identify a time to support all staff with some sort of food item.
I think we've just, it's still an endeavor that we have to accomplish, isn't it? Or not? Okay, I'm not sure about how this motion reads. I'm not sure I really understand it. Jessica?
I don't know if this is within the scope of can we give it to the individual schools to plan breakfast or something on a day that works for them, or does it have to be a district-wide?
The problem, I think, with doing it that way is you are now shifting the burden, and you are saying to a school, oh, here's something extra you need to do. The way we have done it in the past is we've taken on that burden ourselves, and we've done it ourselves.
Sure.
Okay, so, okay, we've got a motion. Should we, are we ready to vote on this particular motion? Okay. We're voting on this motion. All right. So support. Yes, can we hear the motion again?
Yeah, the WSESD support feeding staff in collaboration at a time to be determined in collaboration with Mark, not to exceed $9 per staff member.
And I'm gonna add in board, the WSESD board.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, have we heard it? We ready to vote? Anne?
Aye.
Jessica?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Ruby?
Aye.
Sean?
No.
Kim?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Colleen?
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Deborah, no. Okay, it passes, all right, so, thank you very much. Okay. That takes care of teacher appreciation, does it not?
Except for the letter and the visits, but we can talk about that later.
Yes, and, we can work that out and then just impose it. Okay, we could just do that, do it. Oh, I'm sorry, Kim just changed my word of impose it to, we can do an update, which is softer and kinder. Okay, I think I'm
happy to spearhead that endeavor.
There we go.
Cool.
There we go.
And
We've got Brian, we've got Matt, and
Thank you,
we've
Brian.
got,
You were so eloquent last year.
Ruby, yes, thank you. All right, in the interest of time, the discussion of, I think we're up to discussion of board response to public comment and discussion of board contributions to agenda building. You know, I send out that blast, send me stuff. When you send me stuff, it happens, okay? For the most part. So I'm gonna put those two on hold, all right? And having to do with time this evening. If that meets with board approval. I don't see anybody saying no, shaking their head, okay. Annual meeting warning articles. We need approval and we need signatures. That's gone round. Has everyone, first of all, we need to.
I don't think it got to us ourselves.
Wait, no, it's been going around, but wait 1 second. First, annual meeting warning articles. There are 5 articles, and
I have them up, you need to read them.
Here they are. They're the same as last year, but that's not good enough. Okay, Kim, the 5 articles, would you read them, please?
Article 1, to act on reports of officers. Article 2, to elect the following officers of the district, which officers shall assume office upon election and serve for a term of 1 year, the moderator, the clerk, the treasurer. Article 3, to see what compensation the Windham Southeast School District will vote to pay its directors. Article 4, shall the voters of the Windham Southeast School District approve the school board to expend $67,736,630, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. The Windham Southeast School District estimates that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in per pupil education spending of $15,851, which is 6.7% higher than per pupil's education spending for the current year. And Article 5, to transact any other business that may legally come before the meeting.
Okay, so these are the 5 articles. Is there a motion to approve these articles for the annual meeting?
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passed smoothly. All right, we need volunteers to read the articles. Sean, okay, I'm with you. Yes, this is, oh my goodness, the last hurrah. I'm going to say without Sean saying a word, Sean is volunteering to handle Article 4. So be it, Sean. That was easy. I think as board chair, Article 1 also, if I remember last year, includes introducing everyone on the podium. So I'm going to assume that role. Okay, Article 2, 3, and 4. Article 2, Kim, I believe you did that last year. Article 3, to see what compensation the school district shall pay its directors. Article 3.
Can I make a suggestion? That we consider one of the student reps to read that.
It's an interesting suggestion. I don't know if that is, meets with, board protocol or not.
I can look into it.
Yeah, okay, yes.
I think looking into it's a good idea. I think it may involve inviting the student reps to sit on the dais.
They did last year.
They do.
Did they? Okay,
Oh,
then
absolutely, they did.
I don't, if they're up there, then they can speak. I would imagine, certainly check, but.
Okay.
And this is the board meeting, this is our party.
Yep.
So we established our protocol, I think.
Okay, all right, so be it. So Article 3 is to see what compensation the Windham Southeast School District will vote to pay its directors. And Article 5 is to transact any other business that may legally come before the meeting. So Article 3, Article 5.
Because Article 4 Sean is doing.
Article 4, Sean is doing, I'm skipping over that one. Right, yes, okay.
Which one was the one that you were recommending that I read?
4.
Article 3.
Three.
But what is it?
About.
Okay, 3,
Oh, sure, I'll do that.
okay, we've got Thea for 3, and Article 5.
I'm happy to do.
Okay, Ruby. So be it. Okay, that's done. Okay, and we
Madam Chair.
we have all signatures, so we're giving this to Tracy.
Has Colleen signed?
No, she has not.
Colleen, if you're able to come over to central office tomorrow, that would be great in the morning.
Sure, works. I bring my son to school at 8:30 at Green Street. Can I come by afterward?
That's perfect.
Awesome. Okay, that takes care of that. Thank you very much, Matt.
I would stand in as an alternate for anybody that would be sick to read their article.
Thinking ahead.
Okay, that's perfect. Matt?
I did that last year.
Oh, you did? Because I was about to say, wow, thank you for thinking of that. Good, perfect. There we go, we got it. Anything else we voted? Yes, we're good with the annual meeting articles. We've got volunteers, we've got the signatures. We are up to Ruby.
I just wanted to acknowledge and make sure folks were aware the language on the budget slide that has to do with the article was a little bit incorrect. You know, it just didn't match, so I'm going to make it match. So when you see it, it will have changed, but it will have changed to the one that.
So you're gonna send us a new set of slides?
Yes, yeah,
Perfect.
and it will reflect.
Great, good, thank you very much, thank you. We are up to admin report. We have 6 minutes before we hit 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. We have one retirement, Jody Matulke, social worker at Academy School. She's done great work for us over the years, but she's retiring in the school year.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved with regret.
With regret. Okay, second. We've got a second. Discussion. All those in favor? With regret, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It passes. Thank you very much. We are up to the consent agenda.
I have one more.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. This is more of an informational piece than anything, but I have the school calendar for school year 25-26.
Oh.
This is a regional calendar, so it's put together with our surrounding school districts. And of course, those districts send students to our career center. So it's very important that our vacations are aligned. So again, this is an FYI, so you have, it says draft on the top, but I have reviewed this with the regional superintendents, and I have reviewed it with the union as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Of course you may.
So someone was just asking me about this and I told them, oh, it doesn't come out until after this, it takes a while. So this feels earlier than normal. Is there something, or am I wrong? Is it always?
I don't think it's that much earlier. People are antsy to get this information as soon as possible, so.
Oh, okay.
The regional superintendents were very clear that we wanted to be coordinated and have a regional calendar.
Okay.
Hopefully maybe someday there'll be a state calendar, might be very beneficial, but we felt like we could control the region. So all of our vacations match with our neighbors. And there's 4 snow days built into this calendar.
Okay, I did not mean to rush you.
That's okay.
Mark, is there anything else?
That's it.
That's it?
Okay.
So we are pulling and I can't find it right now, we are pulling the minutes from
January 28th.
From January 28th, right here, okay? And, Matt, Jim.
So I'd like for the minutes for January 28th, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes for January 28th with amending notation of board member Jessica Everlis abstention from the hiring and abstention from the hiring and approval of prior minutes votes. I missed that in our last board meeting in the minutes. So I'd like to amend that.
Okay. And that it was passed unanimously.
Right, yeah,
Is that
it's
what you're
indicated that
saying?
it passed unanimously, and so I'd like to just indicate board member Everlis abstaining from those votes.
Got it. All right, so that is a motion, is that correct?
Correct.
You just made a motion.
Second.
We've got a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, that passes, thank you. And now we are looking at warrants and payrolls. Can I do this as one fell swoop? I can, thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the warrants and the payrolls?
So moved.
Second.
We got a second, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes, thank you very much. And given the hour, I think we will delay the executive session. We do not have to have it this evening, yes.
Madam Chair, there being no further business before this board, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? No discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. It is 8:58. We are adjourned.